All right, welcome back into Rasslin, and we told you a couple of weeks ago when we got this started. We've had some huge guests here on Rasslin. We had WWE Champion Drew McIntyre. We had the great Stone Cold Steve Austin. But right now, I think what I'm going to give to you is one of the fastest rising stars in not only WWE but in all of wrestling. This is a shooting star across the sky. That's how hot this wrestler is, and I'm going to bring her on right now. She is the winner of the 2021 Royal Rumble, a fantastic match where she lasted from number 3 all the way to the end. I am, of course, talking about future WrestleMania main eventer Bianca Belair. Thank you, Bianca, for joining the show today.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
You look very excited. I mean, I can imagine somebody on a professional high as you are right now. It's been a couple of days. Has it really started to sink in yet what you accomplished the other night?
It is starting to sink in. I'm on like an emotional roller coaster where I go from being happy and excited to kind of like, oh my gosh, this is really happening, to a little bit of anxiety because now I'm going to WrestleMania on the grandest stage of them all, to, just back and forth. I've been crying off and on for the past, like since Sunday. It's become a part of my daily routine. So I'm trying to get my emotions in check, but I'm still just on cloud nine.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. I cry all the time myself. So I was watching the match as we all did, and you had an incredible performance in last year's Royal Rumble that kind of kickstarted your career to another level, and now you show up to this Rumble and take it even to a higher level. What is it about the Rumble that seems to launch Bianca Belair into the stratosphere?
I think, maybe the Royal Rumble is just my thing. I don't know. Last year I found out the night before that I was going to be in Royal Rumble, and I was so, my thing was, everyone might not know who I am, but I just want them to know who I was once I left the Rumble. And that's kind of what I was focused on last year. And I felt like I didn't win the Rumble last year, the Royal Rumble last year, but I feel like I still won that night because everyone knew who I was, and I had a good showing. This year was a little bit different for me. I wasn't so much focused on getting people to know who I was. I was just focused, I wanted to top last year. And in my mind, how else could I top last year other than winning? So my whole mindset was to go in there and win. I tell everybody all the time that I'm the strongest and the fastest. I'm the EST, and I just wanted to show everyone. And once I found out that I came out number 3, and I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to win this thing, I'm going to be in there for close to an hour. So that's what my mindset was on this year.
What's it like being in a Rumble for an hour? Because I know a normal match, you've got all the eyes on you, and things go up and down, and you control a lot of it. But in the Rumble, things are going crazy around you. How do you pace yourself because to win, you've got to go a full hour. And there is no, well, I'm going to take a 20-minute break. You're not Randy Orton. But you just, so what's it like going that far and knowing that you have to go for an hour? How are you able to pace that?
Yeah, the thing about the Royal Rumble match is that it's so unpredictable. You have 30 entrances. You don't know who's coming out, and while you're looking at who's coming out, somebody's always trying to throw you over the top rope. It's very unpredictable. It's chaos, and you always have to be looking over your shoulder, and you have to have endurance. And that's the thing about being in the Royal Rumble match and being number 3. I already knew that I was going to have to be in there for close to an hour to win. So that was kind of something I wasn't even thinking about because I'm focusing on winning. And so the time was kind of just a given. But a lot of times I feel like in wrestling matches, it goes by so fast. Mm-hmm. But if you're in there for close to an hour is an hour. You can't make that time go by any faster. So it felt like an hour. I felt like I was in there for a very long time, but I was just so focused on being the last woman standing that I just relied on my athleticism and my endurance and everything I've done my whole life. And I just let it all pour out in that moment when I was in the ring.
Often the Rumble comes down to some established stars or somebody, maybe an established star against a rising star. This one came down to the final 2, were 2 future stars in this business, and you and NXT's Rhea Ripley. What was that like? You two kind of hungry young lions going for the same thing.
I love that moment. I love the fact that I got to share that moment with Rhea Ripley. I see a lot of pictures where it's her and I sitting on the apron, and a lot of people saying, this is the future. And when I see that picture and I think about the Royal Rumble match, in my mind, I think of the future is now. Because at the end of 30 women being in the ring across 3 different brands, Raw, SmackDown, NXT legends, the last women standing are 2 new hungry women, that the two new kids to the block, and we're in there really showcasing who we are. You know, a lot of people might not have know that, but we had a feud in NXT, and they might not have seen that, but it was very fun to really showcase who we were, what we're about, and if they consider us the future, really showing what we have to bring and what the future holds in WWE with us too.
You had your tryout in 2016, and
Mm-hmm.
it's 2021 now. That's not a long time. A lot of the WWE is full of wrestlers who come from all over the world, all different walks of life, and all different roads. Some people take 15 years to get there. Some people take 5 years to get there. You just won the Royal Rumble, and you're less than 5 years into your career. How does that feel?
It's amazing. Being someone who grew up, I have a unique path to WWE. I didn't really watch wrestling a whole lot. I didn't grow up watching wrestling. And I remember my tryout, kind of hearing that, I have a really good shot at being in WWE. And I was there at the airport with two people who they had a cell phone, and on the back of their cell phone, they had pictures and stickers of wrestlers. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about how much this has been a dream for them since they were a little kid. And I remember feeling so guilty because I feel like I was still in their dream. Because this is something that wasn't a dream of mine until it became a reality. And I realized, like, this is what I've been wanting my whole life. I just didn't know. So knowing that, I feel like when I came in 2016, I stopped everything that I was doing, CrossFit, like any other hobby that I have had, and I threw myself 100% into WWE, and it's become my passion, something that I didn't even see myself doing growing up. Now I can't imagine myself doing anything other than this. I completely threw myself into it 100%. I invest myself physically, like making my own gear, everything, any type of way that I can put myself into wrestling is what I do. And I feel like it's all just paying off now.
Let me just say that if you're listening to this show, if you're listening to wrestling, you're obviously a hardcore wrestling fan. If you have not watched the WWE Chronicle talking about Bianca Belair's rise to WWE and her life before WWE, go watch it. It is one of the good things on the network right now. It's fantastic, great insight into where she came from, where she's going. So I want to ask you about that. You say that you didn't have a passion for WWE your whole life, but watching that, I mean, your whole life has been filled with competition. You've been a competitor from the start. You were a track star in high school. You were a track star at the University of Tennessee. And when you got done with that, you went into the CrossFit world. So while you weren't in wrestling, you were always competing. This had to be a natural transition for you.
It definitely was. I wasn't able to be in the indies, and I didn't have that path. But like you said, my path is just different. I was still competing and running track and doing CrossFit, and I eventually got here. But with all that said and done, I'm so appreciative to be here now, and my journey. Like I had a thing when I first got to WWE of not wanting people to feel like I was not appreciative to be here. So I just fully invested in myself, and I just honed my craft, and I wanted to be the best at what I did, and I took every opportunity to learn and try to get better, and be grateful for this opportunity, because I really feel like wrestling found me. In the process of me moving forward and trying to be the best version of myself and figure out what worked out for me. I feel like wrestling is like, besides my husband, like my soulmate that found me, and it's a perfect fit in everything that I've done, from track to gymnastics, CrossFit, powerlifting, my creativity, sewing, it all is folding into WWE, and it's something that is a perfect fit for me, and I belong here now, and I'm just taking it. I'm making the best of what I have.
So, I mean, he's not going to watch this. You don't have to say beside my husband. He's not going to know. You can just he's not. Trust me, Montez Ford probably not listening to wrestling. I would love it if he is. That would be great. Shout out Montez Ford. You're awesome too. Hopefully,
I don't know.
We talk very, very soon.
You'll be surprised.
So I'm 41 years old, by the way. I'm very out of shape. I ran a mile today, and it took me about 14 minutes. You think CrossFit will work for me?
Hey, listen, CrossFit could work for anybody. I feel like it's great in moderation.
Yeah.
It's great in moderation, but it's good. It teaches you. The one thing about CrossFit for me that I carry on to now is not even so much the physical part, but it's the mental part, because CrossFit really teaches you how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and really the importance of listening to your body and body control. And that's what I take from it. And so I feel like you what works for one person might not work for everybody, but
See, that's
you get
crazy.
something out of it.
That's crazy because to me, getting fat has made me comfortable with being uncomfortable. so I guess, as you know, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, really. So I want to talk to you right now because we know that you've just won the Royal Rumble. You are one of the fastest rising stars in WWE. But winning the Rumble is one thing. Now you go to, as you've already said, the grandest stage of them all, where everybody, you know, careers are made at WrestleMania. The current WWE, the women's champs are, you got the Raw champ, you've got Asuka, and then you have Sasha Banks, the great Sasha Banks over there on SmackDown. When do we find out which direction that Bianca Belair is headed?
You know, the way that this has all unfolded, I found out when I first threw Rhea Ripley over the top rope, I had this moment of realization of, you just won the women's Royal Rumble match, and that hit me. And then I looked over to the left and I saw the WrestleMania sign. And it didn't hit me until a few seconds later that, oh, right, you're going to WrestleMania. And not only are you going to WrestleMania, you're having a title match at WrestleMania where you could possibly become the champion at WrestleMania. So the fact that it hit me at 2 different times, I'm so caught up in my emotions right now with just winning the Royal Rumble and living in the moment. The decision is such a big decision that I do not want to make an emotional decision. I can't. It's so important, and they're both just great champions that I need to get my emotions in check, not just before WrestleMania, but before Friday Night SmackDown. So I don't have an answer for you yet. I feel like it's something that deserves a lot of thought and time.
So you are another thing that we saw. Everybody knows the story if they're listening to wrestling, or if they don't know the story, they need to find out, because Mark Henry is somebody that a Hall of Famer, one of the greats of all time. Mark Henry, just a fantastic WWE superstar. And the way you got into this business was a DM or a message on Twitter or social media from Mark Henry. Is that how it happened? That just out of the blue, Mark Henry, of all people, just DMs you or messages you on Twitter?
Yeah, so I was doing CrossFit at the time, and I made my own outfits while I was doing CrossFit. I was making gear when I didn't even know what gear was. And I was in Puerto Rico doing a CrossFit event. And at the end, I took the microphone and I started cutting a promo, which I was doing these things that I didn't even know was a part of WWE. I was already doing it. Mm-hmm. And he saw me on a sports blog or a video, and he contacted me in on my a picture on Instagram. And I thought it was fake, so I ignored it. And then he DM'd me and was telling me he wanted to invite me to a camp, and I ever thought of being a WWE wrestler. And he told me, you know, you have, I feel like you have it. You have the look, you have the personality, you have the athleticism. But he told me right then and there, all I can do is get you to try out. I can't do anything else for you. I can't get them to like you. I can't get them to hire you. You know, all I can do is just give you this opportunity, and it's up to you to make the best of it.
So when you see Mark Henry now, does he hold that over your head? Does he always remind you? Does he, hey, kid, remember who got you here? Stuff like that?
The thing about Mark Henry that's amazing is that he doesn't hold it over my head. You know, he's had his career. He's in the Hall of Fame, and I think that it's great that he's not just sitting at home and living in his glory. He's using his platform to find other people and build them up and change their lives. He's changed my life completely by giving me this opportunity. But every time he sees me, all he says to me is he's just so proud of me, and he believed in me. He knew that I could do it. So I'm just happy that, you know, he gave me this opportunity. He put his neck on the line by saying, hey, give this girl a tryout, and I'm proving him right. So it just feels good to hear him say that he's proud of me.
Well, he's a better man than me, because I just had you on the podcast. And, hey, if you win at WrestleMania, I'm going to be like, hey, she never won at WrestleMania until we got her on wrestling. So there's no surprise.
I'll come back and thank you.
Yeah, please do. So you showed up to the tryout, and obviously you were like a fish in water. It just, you fit. You didn't know that you were going to fit, but you fit. When did you fall in love with wrestling, though?
I feel like it was a progression. You know, when I first walked into the Performance Center, I remember I walked in with, I think, track training shoes and some CrossFit knee sleeves. And they were asking me, where are your wrestling shoes? Where are your wrestling knee pads? I'm like, what? Right. So it was a progression of, first, you know, I really had to do research the business and start watching film and learning the business. So it was a progression. And once I really started getting invested in learning that wrestling is more than just physical capabilities. It's not just going there and just fighting somebody. So much that goes into it. It's an art. And once I learned that it was an art, I really fell in love with it. And I think Mae Young Classic was the moment when I really realized that you're good at this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is for you, and you finally found what you're supposed to do.
No, you are in fact very good at that. That is an absolute fact. You're it's you see a lot of people that work forever and they don't. You're just a natural. I'm not trying to gas you up or anything just because you're on the show, but it reminds me almost like of Kurt Angle's story when Kurt Angle came in. He was an athlete. He was a wrestler, of course, which is not that big of a transition, but he just picked it up like that. And you really seem to pick it up very fast. Again, 5 years. It's an incredible transition. It's incredible speed that you've accomplished what you've accomplished. Who's been your favorite opponent so far?
Oh, oof, my favorite opponent?
Yeah, that was kind of out of nowhere. I kind of threw that. I had you looking over here, and then I just snuck that question in.
Well, no, because everyone is so great. I would definitely have to say Bayley has been amazing. I couldn't ask for a better person to especially have my first feud with on SmackDown. She's so easy to feed off of. She's so creative. She she always elevates anyone that she comes in contact with. And I would have to say I love working with Rhea.
Mm-hmm.
Rhea is someone who, when you step in the ring with her, you have to bring 110% because she's gonna bring over 100%. And if you want to top that, you got to bring 110%. She always brings the best out of you. So I would say those two. Those two are probably my favorite as of right now. But I feel bad just picking those two out because.
That's all right. That's all right. I will tell.
So many I can name.
I'm going to tell all the others that you didn't like wrestling them. But do you have an opponent right now that you've never faced? And we'll take Asuka and Sasha out because they do have the titles, and we will find that story will tell itself when the time comes to tell itself. But is there an opponent out there that you say, man, I'd really like to get in the ring with her and see where this thing goes?
I think I would have to say. I would like to get in the ring one-on-one with who's here now. I would say Nia Jax.
Mm-hmm.
Just because
that's really, that's pretty tough because that sounds like that would be that's intimidating.
Well, the thing is that growing up, my daddy taught me that that it's okay to be nervous, but don't be scared of anything. He always taught me you never be intimidated, never be scared. But it's okay to be nervous, just don't be scared. So I'm not scared of anything. And I love, I've been an athlete my whole life. I love competition and I love a challenge. And I feel like getting in the ring with Nia Jax would be great competition, a great challenge, and something that I think could come out of something amazing can come out of that. I would also like to get in the ring one-on-one with Naomi. We had a little bit of interaction there in Royal Rumble, but I really feel like we can create some magic one-on-one.
Yeah, who came up with that crazy spot? I mean, that was wild. Was that you say, hey, let's do this, or you guys just how'd that work out?
I think the thing about Naomi and I is that we're both like super creative, and we always want to have a purpose of what we do. With being an EST and having a purpose behind like striving to be the best version of yourself, her being feel the glow and having a purpose behind that. We really wanted to showcase our athleticism, and we really want to do something that could have a message out there. With women, we fight each other sometimes and we're catty, and Naomi used herself to pull my braid up to save herself, and then we start fighting, and then we realize that we need to work together. And if we work together, we can save ourselves. So as women, like we need to empower each other, work together, and then we can save ourselves. So I think that was a great moment for us to have and a great opportunity to put a message out there and showcase our athleticism.
Well, you just mentioned that. That was actually my next question. You do have a remarkable athletic background, the decorated track career, the CrossFit. How do you factor that into to planning a match and planning what you want to do out there? Because, I know you bring that athletic background to the ring. Maybe somebody else might not. But how does your athletic background go into your planning what you want to do?
I think that it just comes naturally. I think if you're an athletic person, you don't have to think about it. You don't think like, I need to try to be athletic at this point. It kind of just comes out. And I think with what I'm doing, I always just try to find, if there's a specific movement, I just try to find a more athletic way to do it, a more efficient or faster athletic way to do it.
So, couple more questions. I'll let you get out of here. I know you're very busy. I know you're in high demand right now. I wanted to ask about Montez Ford. We've talked about him briefly. Obviously, your husband, Montez Ford, who's had a very hot start to his career as well. He's been tag team champion multiple times over. What's it like being on this? Because you both are relatively new to WWE, and you're on the upswing, both of you. What's it like to be on that journey with somebody else?
Man, I'm just so blessed. I always say I'm so blessed to do what I love alongside the person that I love. And thank God we actually like each other and like being around each other, because we work together, we live together, we do everything together. But it's been amazing to be able to be with someone who understands this business, understands the high and the lows. And so that when something, a big moment like this happens, it's not that they're just happy for you because you accomplished something. It's because they understand everything that went into it. You're able to celebrate and share these moments together.
Well, don't take that for granted, because I've been married 14 years. She hasn't gone to a wrestling show with me yet. Not one time. She just lets me watch wrestling in the basement, and she doesn't pay attention to it. But my kids are getting into it, and it's awesome. I told you off the air, my 12-year-old daughter thinks you're fantastic. She likes you, and she likes Bailey the most. So when did you notice, and this is the last couple of questions, you're now, the career's taken off. Have you had a moment where you're like, and I know you're humble, so you're going to take this question one way, but have you noticed that, hey, I'm a famous professional wrestler now? I know you have. Come on, you had to.
Yes and no. I feel like whenever you go on social media, it's you get that feeling automatically. But sometimes, a lot of times, like if we go out in public, like my husband and I will be somewhere and someone will be like staring at us, and I'm just like, why are you staring? Like, what are you staring at? And I'm like, oh, Bianca Belair. I'm like, oh, oops, right. I forgot. Like, I forget that some people know who I am. And I'm thinking like, why do they keep staring at me? Like, I don't understand. So it's like, it goes in, it comes in and out depending on like the environment that I'm in.
So last question, and I appreciate you being here. WrestleMania is coming up, WrestleMania in Tampa. Let's go past that a little bit. What if we get to the end of 2021, we get to the end of this year, it will have been successful for Bianca Belair if what?
It would be successful for Bianca Belair if, well, for one, Bianca Belair won the women's Royal Rumble match, and I just have to remember not to be complacent because I'm already super stoked about that. But it would be successful if Bianca Belair goes to WrestleMania and becomes a champion. Mm-hmm. That I mean, what else can top winning the women's Royal Rumble than becoming a champion? Not just becoming a champion, but becoming a champion on the grandest stage of them all at WrestleMania.
That is the dream of every professional wrestler, and you've worked your way into an opportunity to get that. And I thank you for your time today. Congratulations on all your success, Bianca. You're a very unique presentation, incredible athlete, and one of the brightest young stars in wrestling today. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, that's Bianca Belair, and this is Rasslin.